All right, so we're talking with Tricia and Tom about their journey. We just are closing on a property, and the buying process was a really interesting one with you guys. So, we had met 2 years ago, and then when you were starting to think again, I came over and we started talking about the options. And you're like, there's actually a property today that hit the market. And I'm like, so do you want to tell us a little bit about how that went?
A little bit about our journey. We came to meet Megan through a very strong recommendation and referral from dear trusted friends of ours who had a phenomenally positive experience with Megan. So that made it very easy. We helped support both the sale of our house in McLean as well as the purchase of a new home in Reston. But when Megan came over and we met for the first time, we shared with her that we were thinking about selling in a 3 to 5 year time horizon. I had met with other real estate agents before Megan, and that's usually when you get the eye roll, and that's about the last time you hear from them. Most impressive was what I would call the comprehensive end-to-end team support that we received throughout the process. One was pulse checks periodically. So again, never high pressure, but just checking in to see if our situation had changed and then keeping us posted on what was happening in the market. Confident that if I called 10 agents at 6 a.m. on Sunday, probably they wouldn't take my call, but 6 a.m. on Sunday, Memorial Day, and said the deadline for the offers was 8 p.m. the day before, 9 of them would have said, I'm so sorry you missed the deadline. And that would have been a very short phone call. It was like, giddy up, like no problem. Let me solve this. You could see that Megan was in it for the long term. So she wanted to establish a relationship with us. And what was great is at no time did I feel any pressure to move faster than I needed to move. From Megan's team, pulse checks and updates on various properties that met my criteria. This was a special property because I've seen a lot of properties. I did not invite Megan over that day to go view a property, but she immediately is like, if this is a special property, then we need to stop what we're doing. We need to get over there. And within 5 minutes, we had an appointment for 2 hours later, and we're over at the property. More than that, because we knew it was a hot property, we knew we would need to put in a strong offer if we were interested in it. And I learned something that I didn't know 5 minutes before Megan walked in my door, which was there's something called a pre-inspection. So in order to waive an inspection, to make a strong contract, you need a pre-inspection. Well, where do you find an inspector that's available on an hour and a half's notice? Megan knows who that person is. So I assume she's met every vendor in the Northern Virginia area, but she's not going to refer you to anyone unless they meet her brand standard. Which again, just made it a pleasure for us to interact with any of them. You're also getting Megan's professional network. So anyone again who's sold a property knows that it takes a village. Those are your inspectors, your insurers, your contractors, your photographers, videographers. And these are folks that if Tom and I tried to contact them, we'd be lucky to get a call back in 3 days. These folks pick up Megan's call right away. We had unreasonable deadlines. Some of them were same day. They dropped whatever they were doing. And what was really impressive from my standpoint is that 2 of 1, each one is as professional, as responsive, and as expert at what they do as Megan is. She made friends with every agent who represented any house that I was potentially interested in, because there's a lot of information that you can learn from those agents that enable you to put a stronger contract together depending on what is important to that seller. And what was interesting about that particular agent is she was a neighbor of the seller. So when they had their open house, and again, Megan's telling me all of this, she's like, they're interviewing for their next neighbor. Like there's gonna be a lot of neighbors at that event. So make sure that you're present, you're visible, you're speaking to them, because they wanna know who's moving into the neighborhood. And because of the wine club, we brought a bottle of wine over with a little hand note that we sent to that we dropped off with the agent. And again, it's just something that differentiates you when you're in that highly competitive situation. Is education. So one of the things, again, that really impressed me in the first meeting is Megan asked very smart questions. Her ambition was really to get to know us and better understand our goal, our timeline, and what we were looking for. And then it's her job to then supply us with the information and intelligence we need to make smart decisions. She also does, and her team puts together these larger scale events. They're virtual, they're in person. We attended several of those, and those were extremely helpful too. Both the information that she and her team were sharing, but also the questions that the other attendees were asking were very pertinent for us. So then fast forward to April. So it's been almost 2 years now that we're going through the education process. We move very slow. And Megan comes by and we make the decision that I did not go into that meeting thinking we would sell our house, but I came out of that meeting saying we were going to sell our house. And so we took a look at what was going on in the market and we decided to do it in 1 week's time. It allowed me to learn a little bit about myself in that process. You know, how ready am I? Am I ready to put an escalation clause in there? How high am I willing to go? How much do I want this property? Megan walked me through, you know, where's that point that you're willing to lose the property? So again, I'm learning a lot about myself. And poor Tom's at work. He has no idea that I've potentially thought about buying the house. And so Megan went on our journey where one day we're deciding we are going to put the contract in, then you sleep on it, and the next day you're deciding, no, I don't want to do that. But we put a competitive offer together, we put it forward, and sure enough, they wanted a sort of best and final. So we learned a bit about what that step is about. And I think at that point we decided we're going to step back from this because we're a little more risk averse. And for our personal journey, we wanted to sell our property to see how fast or slow that process would go. So suddenly this decision that was going very slow sped up really fast. And that's when Megan completely mobilized her team. And that's when you realize there's these role-based experts. There's folks in operations who put the contract together. There's folks in marketing who help you with the social media. There's a stager who comes through and helps you with all the staging. There's even somebody who helps on the closing side. And each one of them are specialists in their area, which is phenomenal. So it's a completely rock star team. Together, we all went over to this Arlington property. It was an amazing property. It was a hot property, and there was a lot of interest in that property. So Megan starts walking me through what that means if you're in a highly desirable area with a hot property, what I should anticipate. Excited to say that we got the house on the market in a week's time. Megan sat down with us and we planned our strategy. So what's great is, again, through that education process, you learn what the trade-offs are. What's your timeline? What's your price preference? Where are you willing to compromise, etc.? We put our plan together, and the thing that I can say about it is it executed exactly as we planned it. We sold it the first weekend. We had multiple offers, and the offer that we accepted was exactly the offer that we wanted. To this day, while I still love that house, I know we made the right decision together with Megan. Yes, there are a lot of logistics, but because you have this team behind you, you have a high degree of confidence that you will make it through to the other side because they deliver on everything that they promise.
And then I had educated you of the potentials of how things can go. And I don't always know, but one of them was if there's a really hot property and, you know, we can't get in, there might be the option to a sight unseen, which you're like, that will not be us.
Such a consistency to the support that we were getting throughout the process. So a lot of work went into that behind the scenes to make it look effortless, which we really appreciated. And doing it that way kept the stress level to a minimum. There were no surprises. There was nothing that we hadn't anticipated. We had our plan, we had our secondary plan, we knew if we encountered things, what we were gonna do, and we just executed it. And then we immediately turned our attention to buying another property, which we were able to equally have a seamless transaction on that side as well. So again, end-to-end comprehensive support. Can't say enough about how impressed we are. And the final thing that I will say, and then feel free to chime in if you like, Tom, is the last move that we made was 25 years ago. And the seminal thing that I remember from that is how stressful it was and that I never wanted to move again. Coming out of this transaction, I don't feel that way at all. And that's the highest praise that I can pay to Megan and her team. Everything went so brilliantly. Yes, there's stress involved, but it was minimal. I'm such a better consumer, smarter consumer as a direct result of the journey that we went on. And I was far too risk averse. I would never have bought the Arlington house sight unseen.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the 8 weeks that we had spent with Megan, because we had learned the market, because we had better understood what 1.8 is going to buy you in various areas and things like that, I felt so much more comfortable the way the story ended. I was like, we're going to buy this house sight unseen.
Yeah, it was crazy because there was another property that the inspection didn't go so well, so canceling on that one, and then this one you weren't prepared yet to see it, and then there was a deadline of 8 p.m. the night before Memorial Day weekend, which is fascinating that a property goes on the market Memorial Day weekend. But then, like, I get the call, I wake up, and you're like, Megan, there's a house, there's 8 p.m. deadline from last night. Is there a chance? So see what our options are.
She loves a good challenge. She does not like to lose. And you want an agent that doesn't like to lose on your side of the table. So she picked up the phone, you called the agent, and what you found out is she wasn't meeting the sellers until 11 a.m.
Right.
That gave us 3.5 hours to put together an offer and a contract. And by then you had gathered all the intelligence. We knew how popular it was, how many offers were in, where we needed to be, how to structure it. You gave me some really solid advice, and we put a strong offer together, and we were the ones that won out.
Yeah, just five contracts total.
You recommend is love letters, and I'm a big proponent of love letters. So it's our opportunity to personalize who we are and why we like somebody's house. And again, I think it's something that really differentiates.
Yeah,
us.
I think it's more than a transaction. It's it's emotional for the seller leaving their home. It's emotional for the buyer who transitioning chapters. And so I think it makes everybody play nicer in the sandbox, and it's more of an emotional, and better energy. So I think it's very helpful.
Buying a house is not a singular transaction. It's actually a journey of many activities and processes and logistics. And Megan and her team of role-based experts were there for us every step of the way. We will be selling our house again, and we'll just simply call Megan and we'll do it again. So can't recommend Megan enough. Hint, hint, it went really fast because Megan was our representative agent.
Thank you for trusting with all the guidance, and it's been so fun. And loved getting to know you guys, and I know our chapters aren't done, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations, and thank you for doing this to share with others so they can hopefully have a great experience too, because that's what our passion is.
Go with Megan and her team. That's
FASS
the best
Results.
advice I can give you.